Matt, I want to start with you because about 4 years ago, I was on this stage with you and your friend John Krasinski. The two of you had co-written and starred in Promised Land. And my understanding is that the germ of this film comes from the two of you. Is that true?
Yeah, John had an idea about a story about an uncle having to return kind of to his hometown against his will that he pitched me over dinner, and he knew I was looking for something to direct. So I really liked this idea, and I mean we really did not have much at all, but what we had, we decided immediately that Kenny would be our favorite person to write it. Because he's our favorite writer. And so we went and pitched him this idea, and he was, well, you guys don't really have a lot. No, but he's like, well, I like that scene, you know. And then we kind of, we left it with Kenny, but Kenny had a huge logjam of work and other deadlines he had to hit for other projects, and so we were kind of at the back of the line. And we went away, and in our own impatience kind of wrote and produced and starred in Promised Land, and kind of forgot about this, and then Kenny came back around a couple years later with this draft that was just beautiful, but it was long, but everything that was in here was in that draft, and you know, that was when Chris Moore and I were on the project, and that was when we kind of called each other and went, oh my God, this is really special.
Kenny, what about the conversations that you had sparked something in you? What were you interested in exploring from what they talked about?
Well, I just really liked the idea a lot. I thought it was, you know, very moving and interesting, and the idea of someone in that much trouble trying to do something that big and coming up against that big of an obstacle, I thought was really interesting.
Kimberly, what about you? When you first read it, obviously, I'm sure you have people coming to you wanting help, wanting resources. What caused you to take a chance on this project?
It was really the script, and then from there, seeing how much, you know, I got a chance to meet Matt and then meet Chris, and seeing their passion behind the project, and then, you know, knowing that Casey Affleck was somebody I always wanted to work with, it just kind of all fell in line. And we were really, you know, wanting to get behind Auteurs, you know, as our company launched. So Kenny was a very special one to start with, so it feels really awesome.
Lucas, so many of us are discovering you for the first time through the performance as Patrick, which is so terrific and brings such a great ingredient. My understanding is that of the major cast members, you were the last, if one of the last, to come on board. What was the audition process like for you, and how excited did you allow yourself to get as you continued the process?
Yeah, so I auditioned 5 times, I think 6 times actually, for this movie. And I find that when I'm auditioning, I often fantasize about what it would be like to do this movie, and I picture what it would be like to do these scenes and to be I mean, it's kind of the dream to to be a part of a movie with these people, with Casey and Michelle, and to be a part of this family, and and so I found myself fantasizing a lot over the course of the auditioning process. And then when I got it, it was like, oh shit. Okay, this isn't just a family. I mean, it is a family, but there's actually I gotta do something now. I actually have to, I gotta produce.
In the scenes that are just so intense, where in a space of just a couple of minutes, your characters are going from composed to the opposite of composed. How much time is necessary to reset before you do it again?
Well, you don't have that much time, so you can't just stand around and say, give me half an hour, I'd like to reset my countenance, you know. And then Kenny's got his ideas of what needs to be reset and changed, and so it's, which is good. You know, all of those demands are always helpful, no matter how they feel like restrictions, but they're usually things that help you just not overthink things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember that it all, when you're working on movies that are this small, they go so quickly. You never really have as much time as you want, but you tend to always have as much time as you need. Mm-hmm. And that day specifically, maybe that last scene is what you're talking about, I remember it kind of going by in a blur. It was you know, that was that was not the only scene to do that day. That was just one thing on that day. So there wasn't a lot of time in between some effort was made to, press back your eyes and try and start from the beginning. But no, there wasn't a lot of space around it.
I'm always intrigued, Kenny, by films that portray family members and ones that do it so well where the audience believes wholeheartedly that these are people that are with each other day in and day out for decades. How did you go about trying to foster that family kind of environment amongst your actors who did play family members?
Oh, a lot of it's just staying out of the actor's way, really, because, they come in with so much and they have so many ideas about who they are and what the relationships are, and they're very respectful of the script and want to call what's in the script. And it's always fun to look at actors' scripts when they're not looking, because there's all these notes, often anyway, and just to hear them start to talk about, you just got a little piece of everything that they put into it. So I guess it's a question of getting everyone oriented in the similar way, and just at least giving them my version of the story, and then having that be a starting point, my version plus their version, and then what happens when they get in front of the camera is always a surprise, and almost always a pleasant surprise. And just, there's a 5-year gap in the story, and just tracking specifically what happened in those 5 years and what didn't happen. So, when they get in the room together, they at least have a common history to know, and the kind of specifics that actors always bring to the roles that just astonish you, and you're like, oh my God, he thought about what he had to lunch that day, and he thought about where he was when he went yesterday, and how many times he's been there, and you're like, holy shit, he really worked. It's a lot of work. But that's the results are that they're really in the moment and in a very, very full way. And that scene you're referring to, indeed, all the scenes are that they just bring this incredible. My recollection is it was easy to reset because they have so much. They're carrying around these incredible burdens, and so all they have to do is see each other, and they start to just spill out of them, and it's amazing. I mean, it's one thing to write that; it's another thing to embody it. I don't know how they do it.
Well, you guys all did a fantastic job. I congratulate this entire panel. Thank you so much.